I've been busy for the last month or so. I've been able to get my firewall put in the front. I painted that in a high gloss black paint from Eastwood. Nice smooth finish, easy to clean. I think it looks really good, I'm happy with it. I finished it off with black rivets. You can see right there. Rather than the shiny metal silver rivets that came with the kit. I think these look a little better, kind of gives you that all black, blacked out look. It looks good to me. To add a little more color up front since everything else is black, I painted my sway bar bright red just to have some kind of feature pop out in the front. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks running across there. This is actually the rear sway bar from the Subaru WRX used now in the front of the 818, which is a better fit for the kit apparently. The steering rack looked like hell before, so I got that cleaned up, I primed it, I painted it. I used a Luma Blast paint from Eastwood also. All the power steering lines have been deleted. I'll try to throw a picture up in the middle of this to show you what it looked like before. But you can see now it's just a simple tube. These two old hydraulic line fittings are now just connected. So there's a piston in here that when you turn the steering wheel, slides back and forth. And it used to use pressurized fluid to help move it. But now without power steering in this kit, that piston still moves back and forth, but there's no pressure in there. So this line right here just helps transfer air from one side to the other, but there's no real pressure in there. You're doing all the work yourself with no power steering. I had to get new ball joints right here. I tore mine apart getting these two metal pieces apart from the Subaru. I ripped these apart, so I had to buy two new ones. And we have the Coney shocks that came with the Factory 5 kit. Standard, but look good in yellow. Got the upper ball joint here on the little A-frame bracket they give you, with the adjusting rods here in the middle. This housing right here used to have an axle that would run to the transmission in the WRX. But the entire drive shaft is gone. There's no other fitting on the other side. All we left was this end piece with the stub sticking through. Here's the end of the stub with the axle nut on it. So we had to keep that on there to keep the wheel bearing in here. But I still need to find a way to cover this up. There's some companies that sell a cover for it. This is the old ABS port, I think. And right now, you know, dirt and grime and stuff can get in there. You'll see the gear there kind of turning. So I need to find something to cover that up to keep junk from getting in there. Shouldn't be too difficult, but just another task for when I'm back on the computer looking for stuff. Constantly ordering parts for this, and hardware I'm missing, and always tracking down some kind of part. So this is the rear firewall that comes with the kit. This is the piece that goes behind the driver's seat. And the gas tank would go under here. As you can see, there's nothing between the engine and the gas tank, as if you build it as the kit says. So a lot of guys I've seen build an extra firewall between the gas tank and the engine. And I decided to do that also. So here's one of the panels installed. And this will separate the engine from the gas tank. Not so much for safety, but more so the engine bay looks clean and there's, you know, a wall separating this rather than all this framing just kind of collecting dust and dirt and being hard to clean and looking dirty from the back. So I can also fit some more sound deadening on the back side of this. I plan to put something in this area here to keep more of the engine bay sound out of the cabin. So I think that'll pay off in the end. Help make the car a little more drivable and not, bore a hole in your head with loud noise 100% of the time. For this extra rear firewall, I decided to use rib nuts. So that's a threaded insert right there. I think about every 6 inches or so. And then with that, I can use a button head screw, like this one, put one in for an example, to screw them in. So it doesn't have to be super tight or super robust or anything, just enough to hold the panel in and keep it from rattling. To help with the rattling, I found some 1 millimeter thick high density foam. So I placed that in between all the rib nuts to help this thing from making extra noise and chattering on the frame. So hopefully it's nice and quiet when I get done with it. All right, and on to one of the biggest milestones. As you see, I've been able to drop the engine into the frame. It took me quite a long time. It was a very tight fit. It was just me putting in. I heard it's easier with 2 people. But there's a lot of drop it 1/2 inch, check all the sides, come back, drop 1/2 inch, rotate. Just took a really long time. I kind of slid it in there. All the frames were covered in cardboard, and on the bottom, a lot of the exhaust parts were like sliding in off the cardboard, so it was a very tight fit. You can see one of my upgraded engine mounts right there. I got the back of the transmission apart. I deleted the tail end. I still need to put the adapter on there for converting this to a two-wheel drive transmission, and put the plate on this to cap it off. But I think it looks really good. Got the nice gloss black firewall in the back. Red intake manifold. I painted the suspension arms red also. I think I need to hold off on doing too much more red, or I'm gonna make this thing gaudy and just too much red. The starter did not look good, so I painted that all black. I think that turned out pretty well. Kind of just blends in rather than being that nasty, rusted, oxidized color. I'm currently working on some of the interior panels, so I'm back to some aluminum work. I'm getting that fitted in along the side. My rear spindles were all rusty and didn't look good at all, so I decided to paint them all black with the chassis paint again. I'm pretty happy I did, because you'll be able to see these from the rear when you're looking into the engine bay. So I didn't want to see this massive rusty disc at each wheel, so pretty happy I painted these. It turned out pretty well. Here's the pedals and steering wheel installed. See down here, I have the drive-by-wire system from the 07 WRX. So the gas pedal actually doesn't have a cable connecting to the engine at all. It's just an electronic pedal that sends a signal to the engine. I don't like the mount that came from Factory 5 very well. Let's see if I can get a better angle on that. The whole thing flexes quite a bit. You can see how much that moves, but it's kind of hard to tell on the video. But I would say it moves a good 1/4 of an inch. This whole thing kind of sways. So I'm gonna try to find a way to stiffen that up. I don't like how it moves so much. I put the steering wheel in, and I sat in the car where I think the seat will put me. And the steering wheel was pretty close to my body. My arms are kind of scrunched up. So I took the steering wheel along with the steering shaft out all the way down to here. This is where it disconnects from me right now. This is still connected to the steering rack up front. But I popped this out and I compressed it 1 inch. The way I'm able to do that is this whole steering column, this rusty pipe that goes all the way through here, is designed to collapse during a crash. So the whole thing slides together. You can see right there, there's that split right there. The bottom shaft can slide into this back shaft and allows the whole thing to compress. So I just compressed it with a hammer 1 inch to take the steering wheel away from my body a little bit.